Everyone, welcome to Planning Board meeting Monday, June 10th, 2024. Just a quick announcement. This meeting is being audio recorded. All votes will be conducted via roll call. Actually, that's not true, is it? Since we're all-
You actually do have one person who's Zoom, so you do have to do it, I'm sorry.
If she's, okay.
Only if Abby's activated on
Only
something.
if Abby's activated,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's all set.
Attendees via Zoom must use their real name and accurate minute. To help accurate minutes also ensure deters Zoom bombers. Chair will recognize participants when to speak, in-person participants and Zoom attendees. If you can help it, keep it organized. I don't know who wrote this. Mute yourself when not speaking, please. All public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or 2 minutes, I'm sorry, 3 minutes.
Great.
3 minutes. Great. Before we call it to order, I just want to welcome John Kitchener, our new planning board member.
Thank you.
Yep, look forward to working with you. I'd also like to take time to just take a moment of silence in honor of Ken Bogrant, who passed away last week. Thank you. Great, thank you. Ken will be sorely missed.
Yep.
Entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Okay, next, public comment for those things not listed on the agenda. Yes, sir. State your name and help yourself to the microphone.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Brian Val. I live at 18 Cherry Street, and thank you for the opportunity to make this comment. My comment has to do with 16 and 18 Williams Street. I'd ask that in the future you consider a adjustment to the code regarding parking that would give the planning board more flexibility in making a decision. The reason I ask that is because under the current structure, when the 16 and 18 Williams is a situation where there's 2 houses that will become 3. In addition to those 3, there'll be 3 cottages. And so those 6 residences will only have 6 parking spaces. And in this particular situation, you have one-way streets, one on Williams and on Cherry. On Williams, you cannot walk. There's no room to walk on Williams if a car is coming down and there are no sidewalks. And on Cherry, you have to be very careful walking while a car is coming down. And Cherry is a downhill street, and both receive significant traffic because of trades use it as an access to Orange. And currently, there's quite a few non-conforming use houses on Cherry that build right up to the lot line. So there's no place to park on Cherry if there is a third car, which there will likely be in these, and that's creating a safety hazard. And I make this comment because in 2 or 3 years, you'll be discussing, or the appropriate jurisdiction will be talking about the safety issues that arise on it. And I understand the reason for cottages and additional housing, but in this particular situation, that solution creates a serious hazard. I'm not too sure when there was a minor subdivision. I understand as of right, it had to go currently, but in the minor subdivision phase, I would have hoped that that issue was considered, and I'm not sure legally whether you were allowed to not have the cottage because of that, but I appreciate it. Maybe in the future when this situation comes up that you might consider that safety issue. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And
Thank you.
appreciate your work.
No, appreciate you letting us know. Any other public comment?
Mr. Chair, Abby D. Molina has her hand raised.
Okay. Welcome, Abby.
Hi. I just wanted to make a comment on something not on the agenda.
Also, congratulations, John, on being the newest member. But I actually wanted to comment at the May 22nd Select Board meeting, there was something raised about having female representation on the planning board. I just wanted to comment about this as the current female voice on the planning board, but also from my professional experience with ESG, for those who don't know what it is, environmental, social, and governance, which is part of my full-time job. So firstly, I wanted to recognize all the wonderful and talented women who work in PLUS, from the female director, Leslie, to the other incredible team members, including Megan, Holly, Jackie, Nikki, Catherine, Sarah, Rosita, Fiona, Lauren. 43% of the PLUS department's women. And as my fellow board members are well aware, these women are not only a vital part of our meetings, but also keeping the day-to-day running with the department. From Leslie managing the department, to Holly being our expert on preservation planning, to Lauren coordinating and educating us on the new stretch code requirements. I just wanted to recognize and thank them for everything that they do. Now, from an ESG perspective, focusing on the S, social, the most important part about this is access. It means that women and those who have been traditionally underrepresented have the same access to jobs and roles as others. I can personally say from my experience with the planning board, this has always been the case. I have been welcomed by the men and women of the board and PLUS who've taken the time to educate me and answer my questions, ensuring I felt informed and understood the important context with the situations we face. I have also personally taken time to educate myself on many things, and I've learned a lot. So thank you all for that. So looking at our town as a whole, I can say that I believe women do have access to roles, including those on the planning board. Denise is the chair of the finance committee. Susan is the chair of the CBA. Mary's the vice chair of the Board of Health. Rita is the vice chair of the NHC. And Brooke is our second female chair in a row of the select board. Our town manager, Libby, our town moderator, Sarah, land bank director, Jesse, superintendent, Beth, NHS principal, Mandy, and new police chief, Jody, are all female as well. I think this is something to celebrate, the fact that we have so many impressive women working in so many areas throughout Nantucket. Our representation is something many towns in the Commonwealth can only dream about. I think the most important thing about championing women's rights and representation is, again, access. We still want to ensure the most qualified person is put in place for any position, and we are no exception. We want to hire the most qualified people and have women in the pool, but in many cases, there will still be men who are best for the role. We should not be choosing someone because they are a woman. We should choose them despite of it. I was encouraged to see another woman, Liza, apply for the open alternate role along with another gentleman, so I see this as proof in action. Thank you for letting me share my thoughts on this, and I'm honored to be your only female planning board representation for now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Abby. So, is that it? Anyone else online? Okay. Move on to election of officers.
I'm gonna make a motion to appoint the current chair and vice chair to remain in their current positions for the next year.
Second?
That's my
Doesn't
motion.
need to be seconded,
Doesn't?
no.
It doesn't?
For election of officers, no. No, any type of election for an officer of any type doesn't require a second, but you do want to see if there's any other nominations, and then you
Okay,
can move to.
great.
Oh,
Perfect. Any other nominations?
okay.
Alrighty then. Vote?
Yeah, you want to take a vote, though?
Take a vote.
Yes.
Alrighty.
In favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your vote of
Barry's got
confidence.
his book out.
And
Pretty
Joe
good.
and I will do our best, as you know.
Do this for too long.
Okay. On to committee appointments. We've got 3 appointments on the table today. Coastal Resiliency, Cannabis Advisory Committee, and Community Preservation. First off, let's take nominations for Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee. Any nominations?
I nominate John. Is that for that?
All right.
Thank you.
Any other nominations? All right, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Catherine, that.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome to crack.
Still get a laugh out of that all these years later.
Yeah.
It's never gonna go away.
Never.
Next is Cannabis Advisory Committee. Currently, Abby is serving. Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would really respectfully like to keep her on board at this
Okay.
point, and as the chair of the committee, she does an awesome job.
Great.
Not saying other people wouldn't be good on it, but I would love to retain her personally.
Great. Any other nominations? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Abby. Community Preservation Commission currently is Joe. I believe he wants to stay.
I'd like to stay on, please.
So,
No one has that.
So move then, sir.
great. Any other nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Okay.
Unanimous again. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, on to a short discussion. I don't know, maybe not a short discussion, a short-term rental-related warrant article discussion for town meeting. I asked for this to be put on with the intention of just making a bookmark. I think that, you know, I would urge this board to show deference to any compromise article that comes out of the subcommittee that the select board has appointed. But I think that it's only wise to have an option if that process doesn't produce something that's viable. So that's the reason I've asked to have that put on here. The warrant article in question would be the one that I find is the middle of the road, which would be the one that grants.
Mr. Chair, may I think I should
Yeah,
recuse
oh yeah,
myself.
please. Step down in the audience. John is going to recuse on this. So Grant, if you want to take a 3-minute stab at this, that would be great.
Thank you, everybody. Grant Sanders, 14 Dennis Drive. I think I wrote my email on May 24th. It was a Friday, and a lot has happened since then. And I do believe that something good will come out of the select board process, and I hope that that's the thing that goes to special town meeting. If not, our article's still on the table, and, you know, I am, and our group is at your service, however you want to do this. I don't want anybody to think that we're trying to subvert the process. I just wrote that email because our proposal seemed like a good middle-of-the-road idea, and with some technical amendments that Mr. Giorgio is going to help us with. But aside from that, I think that the process is a good one, and whatever comes out of it, we're going to be happy to be champions of it. So, thank you.
Great, Grant. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to understand that hopefully we'll never exercise this and that something positive will come out of the process, and that's what we'll be working on moving forward. So any questions from the board?
I think just one of the things is really positive is everyone's in the same room together. Town council, all the authors that wrote these articles. I think that's fantastic. They're trying to do the best thing for Nantucket. I thought Tom was doing a great job, just kind of managing everything. So it was really nice to watch that, you know, on Zoom, so.
100% agree.
Sorry, it was YouTube, but yeah, it was great.
I think the process will work if we see it through, so. Anyone else concerns? So I guess I'm looking for a motion to, I think we do need one. Meg? We need a motion? We can all just agree to take this on as a planning board article without a vote. Okay? No, I'd like to take a vote, yeah. Go ahead, Barry.
All right, well, You and I sit on the work group. That's one thing that I'm a little worried about here,
Yeah.
without going too far. And the second thing is that things still may change a little bit. And I would just say we're going to be covering this at a later date when we go through the warrant articles. So I'd respectfully suggest, you've got the information out there.
Okay.
It's a good status update, and then its final iteration, when we go through the warrant articles, I think can be brought forward.
Yeah.
Would be my,
Yeah.
I'm not ready to vote on it, but I do like that we're opening the door.
Yeah, we're opening the door for
And
them.
helping
Okay.
them, grant them a little more time. I think that's really important.
Perfect.
Get it right.
Yeah, and I think it's a place saver. So great. So we all agree, and
Yeah.
that's all we need.
Yeah.
thank you.
Great. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, everyone. Okay, on to minutes. Anyone have any questions, edits, or changes? Welcome back, John.
Dave, you jumped one. Just the other planning board sponsored articles. Just to
Oh,
give
I'm sorry.
you
Yes.
all an update, a group of us has been working through preparing a draft for the inclusionary housing bylaw, which was promised at the last town meeting as an outcome that we would continue to move that forward. So I believe, with the exception of possibly now an STR, that is the only other planning board sponsored article for special town meeting. The focus of that meeting, the intent was to focus on short-term rentals and short-term rentals alone, but I think you as a group made the exception to advance that inclusionary housing bylaw because it is important. So just wanted to give an update on that. I should have a draft prepared to circulate by tomorrow, so.
Okay,
You
thank
are,
you.
you are the best.
Thank you.
Great. Sorry I missed that one. On to minutes. We got May 13th, May 21st, and May 22nd. Does anyone have any edits, changes, concerns? I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, that was unanimous. Okay, so we've got some stuff here, we're gonna have to do a little musical chairs. True Island Properties will come back to after the public hearing. Let's just do these secondary dwellings, because I think it gets a little confusing. Hold on a second. What we'll do is we'll do the Quidnet LLC 28 Quidnet Path. And then we're gonna do garage apartments as well, which will be Adam Glick and Denise Stroton at 31 Eel Point Road, 111 Cliff Road, 111 Cliff Road. Gregory and Angela Furtaw, I'm butchering everyone's name, at 11 Roberts Lane. So I'd entertain a motion on those, and the reason is because we've got some recusals on the others. And so we'll have to play through those. Barry?
I'll make a motion, we approve the A&Rs as submitted before us with all the
No,
appropriate.
these are just secondary.
I'm sorry, the ones that you've mentioned,
Secondary dwellings and garage.
right? Do we need to repeat that list, or?
I can.
Yep.
It is Quidnest LLC 26 Quidnet Path.
Correct.
It is Adam Glick and Denise Scruton, 31 Eel Point Road, 111 Cliff Road Trust, 111 Cliff Road, Gregory and Andrew Fruitaw at 11 Roberts Lane.
Great. That's my motion to approve those A&Rs with the appropriate languages submitted by staff and their particular conditions and findings. I'm sorry. And garage apartments.
All righty.
I apologize.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Then, hold on, you're gonna take over for 9 Korea Lane, I'm gonna recuse for that.
Oh, I
And
did.
then we'll go back to you.
Okay, this is for, where are we? 9 Korea Lane, James and Laura Bessie. Any concerns or any issues?
And there's both a secondary dwelling and a tertiary dwelling for this.
Okay. Well, it's
Oh,
tertiary.
that's right. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, so I can see what you're saying. So secondary and tertiary, can we do it at the same time?
Yes.
Yep,
Okay, yeah. So can I get a motion for approval or
that'll be my motion, sir.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. Sorry, I missed that one, Dave.
All righty, so the ones left out, Joe has to recuse on, They are Robert Sarkisian at 8 North Mill Street, the Gottwall Family Trust at 4R Jefferson Ave, and Georgia and Ziana Metri at 12 Angola Street.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just for the record, I'm going to recuse on Robert's occasion as well.
Okay, so let's pull that out, and let's just do Mark Gottwald and George and Zena Metri right now. Okay?
No, I was gonna say, you only need 3. You can just do it in one vote, if Barry doesn't mind.
Okay.
Just
All
to
right.
expedite the process.
All right, Barry, roll away again, Barry, roll away. Okay, again, I would entertain a motion for the garage apartments here. Robert Sarkisian at 8 Mill Street, Galtwell Family Trust at 4R Jefferson Ave, and George and Ziana Metri at 12 Angola Street. Entertain a motion.
Motion to endorse, approve.
Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John?
And which ones do we? call?
Perfect. All righty. Great. Got that confusion out of the way for now.
Are we going back to 12 this year? No, we're good.
We have to do the public hearing before we go back.
Okay, okay.
Okay?
That's right.
So, on to the A&Rs, I'm gonna have to recuse from one. So, we're gonna do LaBraca Realty Trust, Toby Strassenberg trustee, 52 Brunel Street, and Territory LLC, 54 Brunel Street, Town of Nantucket Pocheck Avenue and Pequot Street, and Town of Nantucket Waite Drive. I would entertain a motion to endorse those.
So moved. Mr.
Second.
Chairman.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And then, Joe, you're gonna have to do the Hunt family.
Okay, so this is for an A&R Hunt Family Nominee Trust, Brandon L. Hunt, trustee at 35 South Shore Road.
Permanent plan. Make a motion to endorse.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved, thank you. Damn, he was just so confused.
A lot of moving
Before we didn't
parts.
have to do this.
Okay, great.
2019 meeting now.
Yeah. We could just turn off our camera. Okay, on to previous plans. 31 Fairgrounds Road, minor modification for interior lot lines, Art Sparrow.
So this is just to move around some of the lot lines. If you have any questions, Art Casparo and Arthur Reed are both on the call, but straightforward, you just need to find that the changes do not materially affect the findings and conclusions, which the original decision was based.
Yeah. There's internal ones as well, so you can't get too in the weeds. with
Yes,
these.
Barry.
Mr. Chairman, let's just start the ball rolling then. I'm going to make a motion at this point that we approve this, that this be considered a minor modification by this board. And that'll be the first thing to do.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
And then the second thing is to approve the application as submitted with the findings and the conditions as denoted by staff in the report.
Second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous.
Thank you.
On to 21 Amelia Drive. Acceptance of performance security, Rich Craddock.
So the building is ready for CO issuance. However, there's been some scheduling conflicts to have the final paving coat put in. They do have base coat already applied. So at staff suggestion, they submitted a estimate for Victor Brandon paving, and they are submitting a check, 120% that amount, so that they are eligible to obtain their CO, and they will pave in the fall. And we are in receipt of the check already, I should mention.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that in lieu of the work that we accept the performance security that has been submitted.
Second.
All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, unanimous once again. On to the Great Harbor Yacht Club. Steve Cohen.
So this is another minor modification request. Stephen's available should you have any questions, but all they're doing is they're doing some alterations to a building to have a porch on the second floor of one of these structures. So again, at staff's advice, we suggested they applied as a minor modification since it doesn't actually impact the decision.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that, first of all, this board finds this to be a minor modification.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous again.
And then I'll make a motion that we approve the application before us at this point with the finding and conditions that have been denoted by staff on the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous again. All righty. Now we're on to Unmatched Properties LLC, Lawrence M. Maury, manager, 13R Evergreen Way. This is a public hearing application for a secondary covenant lot.
Thank you. For the
Welcome,
record,
Paul.
Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors, representing the property owner and applicant, Unmatched Properties LLC, for which Lawrence M. Maury is the manager. This is, as the application and as the chairman has stated, a application under 139(8)C to create a secondary residential lot for year-round residences. This is a lot located in an R40 zoning district. It is or will be serviced by town water and town sewer. The lot itself is submitted in complete compliance with the regulations. And by that, I mean, we're not asking for one or any of the three items that typically we would need relief for. That is the zero line setback between the lots, a reduction or reallocation of the ground cover, and the fact for separate driveways. So this is a proposal completely conforming to the regulations. Staff has recommended approval with your standard conditions, and happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Board members? Not very often do we get straightforward
No.
ones like this. We appreciate it. All right.
Motion to approve with the findings and conditions.
Public hearing.
Oh, open the
Joe.
public, sorry.
Yeah. Do we have anyone out in the public
No hands are raised.
in the room?
So I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing then.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, we're not done yet.
Well, we're not yet. We're getting there, though.
Close that.
All right. As for the merits,
A motion to approve with findings and conditions that staff laid out.
Second.
great.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, Paul. Next is True Island Properties LLC, 12 West York Lane. Remind me to circle back on this if it's approved. Arthur Reed representing. This is an application to request a waiver on the 10-foot scale area separation of the second dwelling.
I'm moving Arthur over right now.
Great. Welcome, Arthur.
You're muted, sir. There we go.
Okay, now, can you hear me?
We can, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be on. This is an application by my client, Jeff Shapiro, who, with his wife, are the principals of the LLC that owns this property on West York Lane. The property contains a main house and a garage structure, and the proposal here is to convert the garage structure to a secondary dwelling. As you know, there's the requirement that primary and secondary dwelling be separated by 10 feet. And that doesn't include decks, but it does include porches. And there's a porch on the main house, which extends to a point just under 5 feet away from the garage structure. The main house itself, the principal part of the house, is over 10 feet, over 12 feet away from the structure. This is a situation where the house that was on the property suffered severe fire damage a few years ago. My client bought the property after the house had been demolished and constructed the new house on the property. There's actually a history, which my client, who is at the meeting today, will be able to tell you about, of there being 2 dwelling units on the property. But in any event, the planning board, by special permit, can waive the separation requirement. And in this case, where what we're dealing with is simply a porch, not a main part of the house, we don't see any reason why that wouldn't be an appropriate thing to do, which is effectively going to provide, by converting the garage into a dwelling unit. It'll be a small, 1-bedroom structure, 300 square feet in the building. Will enable provision of a housing unit, a year-round housing unit for somebody to be able to occupy. And we think that under these circumstances, it would be appropriate for the planning board to issue the special permit waiving the scalar separation requirement. We're providing the 2 required parking spaces on the site. One of them is allowed to be 7 by 17, and they're allowed to be stacked in a residential situation such as this. And that's the substance of it. Jeff, I know, will explain any other aspects of it, and both of us will be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great, thank you, Arthur. Board members? Arthur, would your client be willing to put a year-round restriction on that second dwelling as part of the special permit?
Yeah, I mean, specifically, no short-term rental will be allowed on this. It is intended as being year-round housing. In fact, my client, as he can tell you, has already been in touch with the hospital. He's spoken with Jack Bulger, the housing manager for the hospital, about the possibility of it being rented to be utilized by a hospital employee or hospital-related person.
Great, that's great news. Anybody in the public? Billy?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Online, that is.
My computer works so well at home, I thought, gee, I'll have to connect.
Welcome, Campbell.
Right. Good evening, afternoon, really, awesome. So
Can
I
you just
just have
state
a
your
question
name,
about the stack.
Campbell, just state your name real quick.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're
Campbell
good.
Sutton, 15 Appleton Road. I'm concerned about the parking on this particular street. I know stack parking is approved, so that's an approvable piece. I'm just concerned during the summer when it's very busy and people are trying to get in and out, given that the stack parking is for 2 separate structures, not people in the same house. Is there any way to ensure, probably not, but is there any way to ensure that one car doesn't end up parking on the sidewalk on York Street there? You know what I mean?
Oh, you're talking about that little spot at
Yeah.
like the beginning where you can kind of sneak in?
Right,
Well, 12
but
way.
it sort of makes it very narrow,
Yeah,
the street very narrow
12's
there.
quite a ways in. So
Well, I'm just
it's a
thinking
long walk.
with the,
I'm just saying.
it is. But it's, it's a long walk or get locked in, right? Just with the stack parking. So I just wanted to mention that as, a potential future issue. So, thank you.
Yeah. And we hear you, Campbell. I mean, it's similar to what the gentleman that spoke earlier. Streets that don't have any, like this is just like Cherry and Williams. This was before cars came in 1918. Like this just happened this way. There's no place to go except the parking spot on the property. So what do we do? You know? I
And I
mean,
think the applicant hears us
Yeah.
and hears our concerns. I'm not sure that
the
we.
biggest issue is turning around. Backing in, I mean, I back in all the time, but not everybody can do that. We need to make sure that that's like staff goes out and looks at these things, turning around or different places that it can happen on the property to improve it a little bit.
Right,
depending upon what they
especially
have.
when in a stacked parking situation where the houses, you're not the same house, so you can't just go in and get your daughter,
Yeah,
mother, whatever, to move a car. So that's why I was bringing it up.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Campbell.
Thank you, Campbell. Anyone else out there?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing then, sir.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. As for the merits, gentlemen,
So the one thing I was just worried about the porch being closed in at a later date, but looking at the ground cover, it's at 29% of the 30. So I don't think they can do that, so I'm fine with it. That was one of the first things that kind of jumped out at
So it's an
me.
existing condition other than the
Yeah,
technical terminology of what the structure's gonna end up.
yeah, I
being.
just didn't want that porch at a later date come back and,
Yeah,
and it's just because this is becoming a dwelling.
yeah,
This is an
yeah, no,
issue.
no, I know, I'm just kind of pointing this all
They
out.
exist
Yep,
as they are.
right.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
With that, I have no issues. Anyone else? Motion to approve as submitted and with conditions and findings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I'll make a motion that we approve the second dwelling that was before us now.
Oh,
Let's get back to that.
Second.
You got that?
Yep,
Joe
second.
got that? You got that? Ken?
Yep.
All righty.
I seconded the second dwelling.
Oh, okay, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you,
you,
Arthur.
Arthur.
Catherine, is it easier if I say who's, go back?
Back to that.
Okay, because I can go back there easily. Okay, we are on to Richard A. Sarah and Shannon Boehm at 63 New Sconset Street. This is, they're coming back for a rear lot subdivision from last meeting, correct? And who do we have representing?
Shannon Bohm is being moved over
Okay, great.
right now.
Never knew it was New Sconset Street.
Neither did I.
I mean, this is like a new
slipped it
thing.
in there.
Never knew that.
Welcome, Shannon.
It's very helpful.
Hello, thank you. I didn't know that either, believe it or not.
Amazing, like Pearl Street.
I couldn't hear you, Shannon.
I didn't know it was New Sias
Oh.
Street either. For 50
None
years
of us
now.
did.
Mm-mm.
So you're before us to follow through with the real lot subdivision, correct?
Yes, we are. Yes, I am.
Okay. Meg? That's it? Any questions, anybody out in the public? No?
Hang on 1 second. No, there are no hands raised online.
Okay, great.
Motion to close the public hearing, sir.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
As to the merits,
Thank you, everyone.
well, we're not there yet.
I want to be, I want to be there.
Now we're into the tough part.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application as submitted before us with the appropriate findings and conditions as identified by staff.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you again.
There you
You're
go.
welcome.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Meg, on this next one, is it just the GJ Smith that's been continued?
Yes, we're going to move forward with
with-
the Airport
okay.
Commission's request, and Paul
Great.
Santos is here to represent that. We'll get to a vote to continue GJ Smith Inc. after Paul's done with his presentation.
Right, great. Nantucket Memorial Airport Commission, care of Noah Kyberg, Bunker Road, Paul Santos. Welcome.
Thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the Nantucket Airport Memorial Commission. This is an application for the request of an abandonment of an unconstructed way depicted on plans filed with MCD permit number 298. If we could bring that plan up.
Billy, I can do the screen share if you want to monitor the public comment, if you want to.
Particularly to the site plan. There we go. So it's a little bit difficult to see there, but you see the unconstructed way is highlighted in green. It is a way that was left as part of the Bunker Road airport parcels under the original MCD. And the reason it was left there was at one point, fire access to Bunker Road was, believe it or not, through the end of Old South Road at Gate 15, across the airport,
right.
and then into the Bunker Road parcel.
Yep.
So the application is twofold. It's to abandon this unconstructed way and also to seek relief or remove condition 5 from the MCD permit, which was the emergency access provision within the permit. There is a letter in the file from Joe Townsend acknowledging that the fire department does not now use this or will ever use this to access the Bunker Road parcels from the end of Old South Road through the airport or any time in the future. So two provisions: abandon the unconstructed way and then release or remove condition 5 from the permit. The reason we're kind of before you here tonight is that the Airport Commission has leased essentially an area that encompasses part of this unconstructed way to G.J. Smith, Inc., which was going to be the subject of the application following this, that was actually presented, I believe, by Site Design and Dan Beloy. So I don't have any involvement in that next phase, but the reason we're here for tonight is I've explained, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Again, I think you're all familiar with the Bunker Road parcels. It's a CI zone district in which we know the nature of all the tenants within that particular area. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Any board members?
Yeah, this should have been done a long time ago.
Pretty straightforward, yeah.
Surprised it didn't get done already.
Billy, anyone in the public?
No, no one online.
Nobody online, nobody in the audience?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Second. Aye.
As for the merits?
I mean,
Do you want to make a
motion to approve the proposal to remove the unconstructed way and that the proposal is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw
And then remove condition 5.
and condition number 5.
Removing
Condition number 5, sorry.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you.
Next is G.J. Smith, Bunker Road. We're gonna, I think, vote to continue this. Before we do that, it's really disappointing to me when people work on projects that aren't approved, that aren't permitted, and this is one of those cases, and it makes us as a board look bad, it makes the person that does it look bad, and I really urge people just to refrain from doing that in the future. Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to continue this to next month?
July.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to, motion,
July's meeting, hold on.
8th,
Yes, July 8th.
motion to continue to July 8th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is 7 Square Rigger Road LLC, Florian Gashi, 7 Square Rigger Road. Dan Malloy.
He's coming over now.
All righty.
Excellent.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, Dan.
Dan Malloy for the applicant. So we're before you asking for permission to have 3 dwellings on a lot in a C-Tech zoning district. The C-Tech district allows 3 dwellings, but the requirement to get 3 dwellings is 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit. This property already has a garage apartment on it. And unfortunately, the apartment is just a little bit, I think maybe 200 square feet too big to be considered a tertiary dwelling. So what we're asking the board to consider is a waiver of the 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit requirement and allow the existing garage apartment to remain and a duplex dwelling to be put behind it. And we've got an existing lot area of about 8,900 square feet. So we're short a few thousand square feet of the 1 per 4,000. The property does have the required parking on the property without using the garage spaces inside. As if anybody's had a chance to look at the site, the garage spaces are really all contractor shops and really aren't justifiable as parking spaces. So that's the nut of the application, just asking for the waiver on the 1 per 4,000. If that's something you consider to get a duplex in the back.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Members of the board. Let's go to the public and we'll come back to the board.
There are no hands online.
Good evening, Campbell Sutton, 15 Appleton Road. I was just looking at this, so I'm a little confused about 7 is the highlighted building and 9 is its neighbor. And I'm just not seeing any parking for 7 at all. And I'm just going by the plan, and it appears that the parking is shared parking with number 9 Square Rigger. So.
Yes.
In the plan, right, in the plan?
Yep.
And they have on what had been a driveway or an entry, they've put essentially 3 parking spaces, 5, 6, and 7. Personally, it just seems like it's very crammed for 2 properties, each requiring parking to facilitate what I'm assuming is year-round living space, along with the business. So that was just my comment. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Campbell. Dan, would you like to address that?
Sure, I can address both of those. First thing, let me put out, because I didn't mention in the beginning. So if this is approved, we would certainly entertain the condition for year-round housing. This is intended for employee usage. So that's certainly not an issue. In terms of parking, there is parking on the site. The property does share driveway access with the abutting property number 9. We didn't try to quantify the shared parking or driveway usage in this because there's no formal agreement. It's just something that happens on the ground. But right now, 7 and 9 both share somewhat of a driveway access between the 2 properties.
Great, thank you. Board members?
I think, personally, I'd like to go over there and look at this. I didn't go here today to look at this. And see how this is functioning now. It's one of these. Did I do something?
No, I just wanted to make sure you're speaking up. So we can hear you.
Yeah, so seeing how this works in its current situation, that this is when we're sharing and existing conditions sometimes can, lead you one way or the other, what we're gonna add to it, how it's gonna function. I think we should, continue, and I think we should all take a look at this and take into consideration what staff has given us in our staff report before we act on it. That'd be my.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had experience out there. I had storage out there for many years. And I'll drive back out and look at it, but in my opinion, I think staff was right on. That whole area is overburdened. Parking is abysmal at best.
Abandoned
That
vehicles out there.
you go in there, that circle's filled with cars parked in it. I think wedging one more housing unit in there is just not something that I think we should do as a board, but if the board would like to continue this, and take a look at it, I'm fine with that.
Just, sorry, Barry.
No, go ahead.
I was just
No,
going to
please.
follow up with something I should have said. I don't want an existing condition of the whole area to affect it either. Like abandoned vehicles and things being strewn is not the applicant's fault. On the other hand, sometimes there can be, well, I mean, you've been over there. I mean, it's kind of, like there isn't, it's just the way the place is now. It's just been that way for a long
But we
time.
shouldn't be exacerbating.
No, I get that. What I'm saying is, this is before homeowners associations, this is before, things were more organized with development. And it's
Meg's got something.
that's all I'm saying. So go ahead, Meg, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to clarify, they can move forward with one unit by right without any relief from the board. It's that extra unit that they're before you for. So it doesn't completely squash
We're
the
not
plan
saying
for
no.
them.
Yeah.
We're not,
I
they can
agree.
move forward with one. It's the special request for, can you have two more, that you all will have to decide.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine. I mean, if board members have not been out there and driven through there, I think they should. And to be fair to the applicant, we should then continue this till next meeting.
And I just have one comment as I'm looking at this.
Your name again, Kim?
Oh, Campbell Sutton, still. Still me. So the other thing I'm looking at when I see this, if this is, say, an evening and the parking lot is full, it appears that the driveway to the back building is full, right? And I'm just wondering about, like, emergency access. If something were to go awry in this back building, how is it that accessed by fire or ambulance or anything, police or anything? Just wanted to bring that
No,
up.
that's a very
Thank you.
legitimate concern. I know what it looks like out there, so I just have great fear that we're overburdening the area, so. Entertain a motion do we have anyone else in? Actually, we're gonna continue it anyway, so.
So that'll be the motion, is to continue to 7/8 with the objective of people doing the second year.
Yep.
Is there like an association or anything, like anyone gotten together?
I don't think
Kinda-
we have an HOA out there. Not that
I don't believe there's an HOA on this.
Yeah.
Is that something that we couldn't ask or at? I mean, I know he's just one guy, but
Yeah.
some way to come together, because like it is quite sad to go in there.
It's tough.
It's tough, and I understand what people are doing, but I think a little bit better control of what's going on, and it would be great, just for all of their sakes, so. But maybe just a request, while we got Dan, if you can send him an email.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm fine to continue.
Okay, so that was made by Barry and you're seconding?
I'm seconding.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
That's all right. So next is, and I think there's a couple of these that, in my opinion, we should address. So 17 Canterbury Lane LLC, Edward Dougherty, manager, 17 Canterbury Lane. This is Paul Santos. This is a special permit for a second driveway access. And I don't want to cut you short, Dan, but I think Paul, Dan, blah, blah, blah.
Campbell.
Campbell? I didn't call him Campbell, did I? At least I got the gender right.
We're in
okay? Leave me
2019,
alone.
this is a new world now. That's right.
But anyway, back to, this also will need an HOA approval, correct, Dan? And I just think, to be fair to staff and everyone, that maybe in the future, it's better for us
That first.
to have that first and then come to us, because we don't want to confuse the issue. If we approve it, then they're gonna go to the HOA and say, well, they approved it, and when really this should be the HOA's decision, and then we will follow up behind that. Would you have a problem with us taking that path here?
No, I mean, we had, again, for the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner at 17 Canterbury Lane. 17 Canterbury Lane LLC, Edward Doherty, manager. No, in fact, I've spoken to the client. He has reached out to the homeowners association, and I'm happy to continue this to see if a resolution can be made prior to coming to this board. I would briefly like to, I don't know if you're going to open the hearing, or we have opened the hearing, but to just kind of give you a little bit of a background on why we're here. And then I'm happy to continue and see if we can further discussions with the homeowners association.
Okay, great.
So again, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. Briefly, this is an application for a second driveway within the Canterbury Lane subdivision. By way of reference, Canterbury Lane subdivision that you're all familiar with sits off of Low Beach Road. It was permitted and developed many years ago. A few of the lots were developed over time. And then as of maybe 2 or 3 years ago, the remaining lots were sold from the family that owned the subdivision. And that's what's brought the now full development of this project. At the time this was approved by the planning board, there was a specific condition that no second dwellings were allowed within this subdivision. The reason being is there is only one access point in and out of this subdivision. It greatly exceeded the dead-end requirements within the bylaw. And at the time, there was an attempt to put a connector from this property out to Milestone Road. That was eventually unsuccessful, and the board said, okay, well, we'll grant you the dead-end waivers with the caveat that no second dwellings exist in this subdivision. So the application that we had presented or will be presenting is for a second driveway to a proposed garage studio. And the plan that you see before you is to, and I hesitate to call it a second driveway because what we're trying to do here is simply provide access to a garage door that would potentially be used for winter storage of a vehicle, storage, act as a shed, if you would, for kayaks, boats, and so forth. And then provided in the winter that we want to drive a car in there and stick it in there for the winter, rather than driving over a lawn area, we're asking to put basically a grid that you wouldn't be able to see. It would be essentially a stable base to drive over from Canterbury Lane. We would not be proposing any type of apron that you would conventionally see. What you would hopefully see when this was completely constructed would be just grass area from Canterbury Lane to the garage studio with the ability to put a car in there in the winter months and not have to drive back and forth over and destroy the lawn area. That's essentially the application. So in our opinion, we felt that it was trying to be as less obtrusive as possible, and it would simply be, but again, I think by staff and by the board, it technically is considered a second driveway.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. As I said, I'm happy to continue this process with the homeowners association because whether this board agreed with me or didn't agree with us on what we're proposing, again, rather than getting into someone saying that the planning board approved it, we fully understand the homeowners association has the provision in there.
Have they been not responsive?
Oh, they've been responsive.
Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, they've been responsive. I think their letter was, they were clear, I think, on their position.
Yeah.
But again, there was a second email that went from the owner trying to clarify, what he's trying to do. I mean, I'm sure they understand what the plans are. What my only thought was, in addition to staff did recommend a number of typical items, my point moving forward would be that that in addition to staff's recommendation, that we would remove the fact that there would not have to be an apron. I mean, the geogrid would go right to Canterbury Lane, and that the condition would be put on that this would not be allowed to be used as a parking spot. So you could not put a car here at any time. It was simply for providing access into the garage area for storage, and there would never be a car in that location. So I'm not sure whether that fully got transmitted to the homeowners association, but we're happy to further talk to them about it. Obviously, you know, the homeowner wants to do what's right here with regard to the homeowners association.
Yeah, so
The only other thing was the homeowners association did submit a letter. The 3 members, they submitted a letter. They sought input from all the homeowners in within the subdivision. And the letter was straightforward. It said, we're seeking, if you want to send any letters of support and/or opposition, please send them to staff. I don't remember seeing any letters of support, but there was a few in there for opposition.
Yeah.
And just by way of reference, there is a couple, if you look at the aerial photo, I think there's an aerial photo that we submitted also. The lots that were developed in there prior to this current homeowners association being created, there is, if you'll notice the lot, you'll see there is the area in blue. So the lot just below that, you'll see there are 2 driveways on that lot right there. There is a garage there, and there is 2 driveways there. But again, those were permitted and built prior to the current homeowners association putting the restriction on. And then there's a few odd, if you see the little turnouts there, the parallel parking spots on Canterbury. So you do have a few cases in there, but those were all done prior to the restriction being placed on by the current homeowners association. So it's a long-winded way to kind of explain why we're here. I appreciate what the board's concern is, and I'm happy to continue this and open up the dialogue with the homeowners association on behalf of the client.
And we appreciate the applicant trying to do this the right way and not just doing it. And I think that carries a lot of weight with us, but I think it would be better for us as a board if you could figure this out with the HOA, and if you can't, then come back next month and we'll have a
Yeah, well, if they,
debate
quite
about it.
honestly, if they can't, the applicant may just say, listen, I'll
just pull my car in.
I'll pull my car over the grass and sink in for the 1 month of the, whatever he's going to do.
I mean,
And
that-
hopefully it doesn't get to that. I think
Yeah.
there's an alternative here where we
There's
can come
other
up with
people, this is a good model. Like,
Yeah.
you're using, all the traffic's gonna be on Reaper Circle for the day-to-day
Yeah.
operation of the house. And this is just storage in theory, and
Twice a
we've
year.
had this before, and I think that's a good way to, move these lots, because there're gonna be other people gonna be wanting to do certain things. The angle of it and being the long part on Canterbury, they could very easily put the main driveway on Canterbury and had people pulling in and out onto the main road all day long. This is a better plan. So I think you should be able to get people to see that,
Yeah,
you know?
we hope so. I mean, the homeowner association is obviously, since the lots have been sold, they're very active. We're doing some work in there with regard to drainage and so forth now, so.
Just whatever conditions we need to add, Meg, to this for the use condition.
And I think it'll be, follow the conditions of the
come back.
second letter you wrote, sounds like the way it will go.
Yep.
And, I mean, after all, it's gonna be used twice a year. Once when they pull their car out of storage and once when they put it into storage, so. Great, so,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir,
may I?
please.
Thanks. Hey, Paul, I would just suggest don't unnecessarily constrain yourself with the GeoGrid. Concept is registered, makes sense. You want to put in some hard surface that's dispersed so you have grass to have a pleasant aesthetic. When this goes to HTC, it's likely going to be a cobblestone, not cobblestone like downtown, but more dispersed and some grass in between it. So I would just suggest if you get to the point either with the homeowner association or with the planning board here, you may want to just keep the material off the table and stick with the concept.
Yeah, obviously the intent was to hide this as much as we can, so nobody knows that when they go down there, what this is.
You're in Steve's world now. Great, entertain a motion to continue?
Do you want to see if there's any public comment?
Yes, yes, yes.
I guess we can do that. Did I pass right by that? Billy?
There are no hands raised online currently.
It's the weather.
Great. Entertain that motion again, then.
So motion to continue to 7/8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See next
Thank you.
month.
Thank you.
Next month, Paul.
Next is another driveway, 11 Alexandria Drive, Stephen Duro. Stephen Duro representing himself. Hello, Stephen, welcome.
Hi.
Right up to the mic and give us your name.
Yeah, so my name is Steve Duro. Property is 11 Alexandria Drive. And what I'm trying to do is get a little relief from the tertiary dwelling requirements for the driveway. Because the property's on a cul-de-sac, I'd like to be able to put Belgian block, a Belgian block apron in, a second Belgian block apron spanning across the entire width of the driveway.
Yeah.
The way it is now, it's just on a cul-de-sac. That's how it looks now, that picture.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, it would look better with the apron spanning the entire driveway, and then have the cars parked straight forward in instead of parallel to the house. So that survey there shows how the cars would park if the apron was spanning the entire width of the driveway. So our intention is just to separate the duplex from that tertiary dwelling, separate the parking out, make it a little bit more clear what the parking situation is, because this street, as you know, it's probably a lot like that Square Rigger Road where the parking is just insane on that cul-de-sac.
Yep.
And I just think it would just be a better setup, I think, for the property, and we would want to do it the way that is aligned with the rules and how it's done on Nantucket.
Yeah.
Great.
Innovative.
No, we appreciate you trying to do it the right way instead of just doing it.
I got a quick question for him, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Have you figured out a way for those two vehicles? I can see how it could work, looking at your plan, how they can turn around, like back out that gravel driveway and kind of nudge into the front section of where the 3 cars are gonna be and then turn left and out.
Which two vehicles are you talking about?
The
ones at the
tertiary ones,
tertiary.
yeah.
Yep.
So they'll be able to, because people aren't gonna back up all that way. You know, how that's just how things are, like, you know, and they can back up, instead of backing out into the cul-de-sac, they can back into your little thing there that you've got behind the 3 spaces and pull out.
If the fence was gone.
They could, yeah.
Because you're proposing to remove that fence, correct? And have like
Correct.
a nice,
Straight in
Yes,
parking.
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so they-
good, I
yeah.
think. Right where that car is where they'd back up and turn left
Right.
and leave.
Right, or just back straight out into the cul-de-sac and then.
Well, you know what I mean.
We don't want to encourage
Just
them to
trying
do
to
that.
make it, you
Sure.
can't put a turnaround way up there, there's no space for it.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say. A little back in turnaround thing,
Right, yeah.
but you'll kind of be able to make one with the other spaces there. So the person can back up
Could,
and
sure.
leave the other way, you know?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
look at it from how it'll end up working.
Yeah,
We
you
did
could.
something similar to this on Cedar Circle a few years ago, if I recall. But this is, it's good, at least you're getting them off the street. You're
Yeah.
trying to come up with a way to do something.
Thanks.
Stephen, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, if I may, can we go to the image? So I just take note of the width of the driveway to the secondary dwelling in the back. And then can we go back to the site plan? Steve, I get what you're trying to do. I think you could be as successful as if you pull up the drive, the 3-car parking on the southerly, southeast, westerly side of the lot, a few feet, and with the existing width of the driveway, you'd be able to accomplish what Nat had to say. And all of that could happen with the fence in place, or maybe cutting it down the split rail, a few feet, and then putting some privet there. The aesthetic on this isn't something the planning board will weigh in, but the HDC did weigh in on. And it was to constrict the parking from the other side, the apron from the northern side. So that would bring your planning board approval better into conformance with the HDC approval. But if we could go back to the image, please. Yeah, so maybe cut that section on the left down 3-4 feet, the split rail fence, the two section where there's a sign that says no parking. Maybe take a couple of feet off of that, extend the apron, put some privet across the front, move some parking further up. You're gonna have plenty of room to do 3-point turns in there. And, I understand it's a sacrifice to your front yard, but eventually we're trying to get these things off the street and having parking on site. So it's a little bit of shared responsibility, if you will.
And we don't want to approve something that's at odds and with the approval you've already received from a different board. So we just need to.
So that would be some.
And also shrink the opening a little and still function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can move it a little bit over.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see what you're
Yeah, I
saying.
mean, when we bought the property, that was how it was. It was the same size opening. But yeah, we can shrink it down.
You gotta understand though, nobody cared then. There was nobody doing it, it just happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you gotta pretend that you got not a new property, but
Yeah.
coming into the 21st century, let's try to fix it now the right way as best we can.
And they received an approval.
Slightly different,
For
but
your purview on this.
Yeah, there's a new rule at the HDC. The chair has authority to approve things that would be in good faith determined consent. This would be a modification similar to what I outlined would fall into that.
Can I ask Meg a question? Yeah. Meg, through Dave, can I just ask you something? This constitutes a second curb cut even though it's only one? Is it because of the width and just?
It's not a second curb cut. It's a waiver from the design standards.
Correct.
So the design
So this still
standards
has to
say,
get DPW review? No, private road. What are we, I'm just trying to figure, haven't heard
it
this
does
one
need
before.
DPW
Okay,
review, and
okay.
it needs a special permit, and it needs HCC, it needs all the things to do it. Any wider than the 15 feet.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I'm just trying to, we all understand, because I didn't think of that.
So,
If I may, Mr. Chair?
yes.
So Steve, I think if it's going the direction I think it's going to go, the upshot will be you will have your driveways and parking memorialized with slight modifications to the depth of the 3-car parking and the apron basically sliding, 2 or 3 feet over towards the right. And then it will be all legit and legal once you get a stamp from the DPW indicating that you're not adding to any water flow, wastewater out on, or stormwater out onto the street. Hopefully no wastewater either. But yeah, that's the nut.
Yeah. So how should we proceed here? Well, it's a.
Through staff, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Do we have anyone in the public before we get too far down the road here?
No, there are no hands raised online.
Okay, great.
Yeah, this is an internal,
Yep, so.
figured it out, I think. I would agree.
You agree, Meg? Okay.
So I'll make a motion at this point that we approve the application before, we approve the special permit before us at this point. Sorry, I'll close the public hearing, I'm sorry, I thought we, let's close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye, thank you.
Yeah,
All right, so let's try it
I thought
again.
it was the second curve.
I'll make a motion at this point, we approve the special permit as submitted with the potential for some design changes to be addressed by staff on its final iteration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Nice work.
You're on your way, well on your way, my friend. All right. Next is another curb cut.
Dirt cut.
Matacasham nominee trust, Steve Cohen trustee, 20 Matacasham Valley Road, represented by Stephen Cohen.
He's moving over right now.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Stephen Cohen for the applicant.
Welcome, Stephen.
So I think this is a relatively simple application. It's a property that has been in the same family for a couple of generations and benefits from the pre-existing legacy right to be converted into a condo. It is now passing generationally from the parents to the kids, although the kids are, adults who have their own kids at this point. And they want to split the property into a condo. And one of the things that they want is to each have their own access way and a little bit of privacy from each other. So we're seeking a second curb cut for a second separate driveway and parking area with the idea that there's really no impact on traffic safety or other concerns listed in the bylaw because this is such a remote and lightly traveled area.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. Board members? No? Public? Can you see?
There's no one online.
Okay. This is Campbell.
Still Campbell.
Still Campbell, Campbell Sutton. So, whoops, I lost the plan here. So I guess I have a question, because right now well, obviously, I'm not in favor of a second curb cut in this area for its overall aesthetic. Everyone else has the one driveway with the larger extension to the other buildings. But let's say I'm in the minority on this. So my question would be, what's the plan for the current drive that goes directly to the second house, right? Because you can, right now, get to the front of the house with an existing driveway, and you put the second one in, and you're no longer reaching the front of the house. You're at the side, which, okay. But you still have that drive in the front, and I'm just wondering if there'd be any compensation being made there for the disturbance to the environment, for the new road to cover the old area, if you see what I'm saying there?
Is that a question for me through the chair?
It can be, if
It
you have
can
the
be.
answer, yes.
I mean, the intent is to use the existing driveway and to add a new driveway. Those driveways are more than 100 feet apart, so I think they would be relatively, they would not appear to be, multiple driveways on the same lot. The lot is going to be essentially split in half between the siblings and will be landscaped and otherwise developed by the siblings to look like separate lots, even though they're condo units of the same legal lot. I don't know what Campbell means by compensation for the disturbance. It's a 10-foot wide driveway. It's not really, there's no environmental issues. It's not in conservation area or anything like that.
So the area I'm talking about is the driveway that currently goes to the second dwelling.
So the area that would be eliminated in the sense that
That's what I'm asking about.
yeah, it would be
Is what are we
significant.
doing there?
Yeah, the large chunk in the middle would be eliminated so that the parking for one house would be in front of that house and the other parking would be in front of the other house. So where you see, it looks like there's a couple of cars there now, or it's actually, I take it back, it's a shed and a car, that area would be eliminated.
Okay, so that's the area that I'm speaking of in terms of
Yeah.
being
Right.
replanted
Yeah, that area would be eliminated, would be replanted,
with
that's correct.
something not in need of high nitrogen and mowing would be great. given its location.
This is, just so you know, I've been to this place a
Thank you.
bunch of times. And that shed is sort of like a sort of gathering little spot, and people have been, it's just driven on, like,
Yeah.
like on dirt. Like there's not really a
A
delineated.
driveway.
It's not like edging and like we
No,
have
no,
now.
right.
It's just, they're driving on their yard. So I think what Steve is saying, and your question was
Right, right,
technically,
that
are we
was my
getting rid
question.
of that like sort of area and separating them? And that, what Steve said is exactly what I was thinking, that they're gonna have to do something like that, because they just sort of drive on it.
Right.
It's not like, this is the spot to drive. It's just, oh, I think I'll drive here now. You know what I mean? It's
No,
kinda like
I've seen the
that.
kind of driveway.
It's
I have
just the
one.
way that place is set up.
And I mean, the application is for a curb cut, so I'm not sure that we have the purview
They're
to,
just gonna clean it up and they're trying to fix it.
You could.
And that's,
Yeah.
you know,
it is a special permit, so.
No, but I just wanted to mention it as, because you're essentially creating two accesses to one
it's pretty big piece.
dwelling, unless you remove
Yes.
what they're currently using.
Yeah, that part,
I
that portion
agree.
will definitely be
And I
removed.
I think that's not a look we want. I agree with you there, for sure.
And I'm just, to Stephen, I'm just kind of curious why you didn't come in where the note is, says existing driveway to remain, and just avoid the second curb cut. I mean, I was just kind of curious if that, what the reason.
Yeah.
Or is
I'm
there-
sorry, Joe, I didn't catch the question.
So on the site plan, you have a note that says existing driveway to remain
Yeah.
at the top of the northern lot line. And I'm just
Yeah.
kind of curious why it didn't come in there? Just to, then
You
you
mean,
don't.
why isn't it splitting off from there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the reason is it would require one of the driveways traversing through the other person's lot or area. And I
Gotcha.
think the intent is to have them be, you fish on your
I got
side,
it.
I fish
Okay.
on my side, nobody fish in the middle.
Yep. No, I get it.
Joe,
It
let's
is-
put it this
is
way.
condo.
If you and your favorite sibling owned property, how would you cut it up?
It'd be 6 other driveways.
All going nowhere.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, Stephen.
thank you.
Any other board members?
Make a motion, close public hearing, sir.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
As for the merits,
Make a motion, we approve the special permit is submitted with a revised site plan to be finally reviewed by staff in the end, because they are gonna have to clean up that section.
without adding a condition? You have that or a condition?
when you say clean up
Do
this,
do you mean just
He means that,
an actual proposed existing driveway, like how that's gonna
what it's
go?
gonna end up looking
Right,
like.
because
Okay.
they're gonna eliminate
Right,
some of
right.
that space out of
Okay.
there, and we just.
Yeah, so we can just add that condition that that'll have to be signed off by staff.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Great, thank
I'll
you.
second that then.
all right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Great. Next, Great Harbor Yacht Club modification, 1921 portion of 23 Nobody Farm Road. This, for me, is similar to Cannonberry, and I'm gonna still let you speak, Stephen, but I think we as a board should give a chance for the applicant and the neighbor to work out the deed restrictions before we really make a finding here.
Mr. Chair, I agree with you. I think what we're doing here is dealing with a chicken and egg situation, and I'm trying to make sure that we don't go too far down the line with the neighbors until we understand what the concerns of the planning board might be, because I don't want to end up in a situation where we have cut a deal with the neighbors but the planning board doesn't like the plan. So this meeting I see as informational, with the idea that we would then work out the details and come back to you with a final plan based on being responsive to your comments as well as the neighbors.
Perfect.
So do you want me to give you just a brief overview of what we're doing?
Please.
Okay, so you may know that 19 Nobody Farm Road used to be part of the Small Friends lot, and it was cut off and turned into a separate lot that has a house on it that was owned by people who use that for essentially food service purposes and also live there. But they have since sold that lot to Great Harbor Yacht Club, which owns the abutting land at 23 Nobodere Farm, 23 Nobodere Farm Road. It abuts in the back. The goal for the yacht club is to expand its swim and tennis facility by eliminating the dwelling that's there, as well as its commercial kitchen and commercial enterprises. I think it currently operates as a takeout food facility, which has a bit of traffic at meal times. And the idea is that would be replaced by adding one tennis court, which would make a total of 9 tennis courts on the combined properties, adding 4 pickleball courts, which do not exist there, and adding approximately a 12 by 18 storage shed, and then some kind of like pergola or shade structure for the people that are there. One of the things that we talked about doing before we came in with this application was seeing if there was some space for the new school and the Small Friends and Great Harbor to have combined access and parking, because that area could benefit from that. We had some traffic engineers do a study on that, and we discussed it with the neighbors, and we basically didn't get to an agreement on that ambitious of a project. But one of the things that came out of it is that the Small Friends is very concerned about the fact that they have so many kids that are essentially like, 2 to 4 year olds who are wandering, in that area, and having traffic for people that are not regulars, employees or could be problematic, especially, essentially tennis and pickleball. You're talking about people coming and going every hour or two. That seemed like a situation we wanted to avoid. So it suggested to us that what we want to do is try to move all of the parking to the 23 Nobodere Farm Road site, and try to have only access for employees and maintenance on the existing easement through 19 Nobodere Farm Road. There's a substantial amount of parking there right now for Small Friends and for the food and for the mixed use facility. And what we do is try to reduce that to be only for Small Friends and only for some employee or maintenance parking for the Great Harbor Yacht Club, so that we wouldn't have any members coming and going with the frequency that you get with pickleball or tennis for safety purposes. The only way to do that at the 23 Nobodere Farm Road site is to convert to stacked parking on one or both sides, and we currently have it on the north side. We're adding 19 parking spaces, which gives us 53 spaces total. I think that's far beyond what actually would be required if you calculated under the courts that we have, but our goal is to get as many parking spaces as possible, not the minimum. So we're proposing more than what would be required. And then in order to do that, we would move to a valet or attended parking model, which we think is appropriate in a club atmosphere, although it wouldn't be necessarily if it was like a retail shop or something. And so because you have people coming and staying for several hours and leaving on a regular schedule, or either they're hanging out at the pool or they're playing tennis or pickleball or squash, it's not high traffic, and it's sort of easy to deal with moving their cars around. And frankly, they come and go on a schedule that kind of works with, even hours or 2 hours or, whatever they come to play for. So it's not a constant in and out. There's a periodicness to it. So that's where we are. We're looking for the planning board to approve the new parking associated with the new recreational elements, and to give a waiver for stacked parking as contingent on it being attended or valet parking in this area. There are concerns that Small Friends has, and there are concerns that the land bank has, and we intend to work those out with one or both of them, probably both of them, before moving forward with the planning board. But we thought it was important to get some feedback from the planning board before getting too far down the line.
Great, thank you. Board members?
Steve, thank you for that. The last statement was the most important one. So I'm familiar with this place, in my world. So can you just explain, just so everyone knows, what the plan is for moving, that line back towards Small Friends to add some more parking and also the valet part of it.
Sure. So
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
yeah, no, thanks. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'll answer those questions, which is that the deed restrictions that are held by the land bank currently require some no structure areas on the there's a 50-foot no disturb area on the front from the road into the lot, and then there's some 15-foot no structure areas for the perimeter of the property. So part of the idea is that if we trade a 15-foot swath at the north side of 23 Novader Farm Road, which is the south side of the Small Friends lot, so that we would essentially, by moving the boundary, we move that requirement, or we sort of mitigate the issue of being within the no structure area. And then in exchange for that, the idea is to give all of the access way at the north end of the tail for 19 Novader Farm Road would go to Small Friends. So they would own all that access. They would own all that parking area, which they don't currently own their own parking and access. And then that area would be closed off to just employees and maintenance for Great Harbor, not member access. So if that works, I think it's a win for everybody. In terms of attendant parking, I think what we would have is, the club has regular fixed hours, and during the season when it's open, we would make sure that, people coming in would essentially valet their car. Now you're only talking about half of the cars being double parked, because the cars at the south side would still be able to go in and out without having to go through the valet. I mean, we'd still have them use the valet, but they're not double parked. They're not stack parked. But having those cars stacked, I think works well in this club environment to sort of reduce the traffic problems that we have there anyway. There's, the people coming and going. The club has often thought that it could be managed better anyway. So this is will help people maximize the parking and minimize the headaches.
Can I follow up, Mr. Chair, real quick? Steve, I don't think you were ever on any of the Millie's applications over the years. I'm looking at this from so many different perspectives, and the most important thing is having the relationship with the schools and the land bank and whoever else is involved. But the seasonality of this is what I'm trying to wrap my head around. The other places are not, I'm not gonna say they're closed. I mean, there's no school in the summer, but there's less activity in those other existing parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any connecting, like walk through, a way to walk between them? I don't know the answer to that, but.
Yeah, I believe that there is, and I know that there are some informal or not recorded agreements between the three entities to allow for use of some of the recreational facilities in exchange for use of parking off season and those kind of things. I know that all three of those property people, property owners have different agreements with each other dealing with that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about working with them and coming up with something that keeps things, not necessarily in their existing conditions, but close to it, and utilizing the space that isn't used, that is right around the corner, and somehow valet or, however you work that out. And
yeah,
I'm just making that suggestion. Looking at this in page 1, I didn't see that yet. That's gives you a better snapshot of the existing conditions and way things are. So I'm just throwing that out there for,
Yeah, I hear you, and I think that's a good idea. Small Friends, as you know, basically is busy year round because it's childcare, right? So it's not seasonal. Great Harbor has that parking lot is filled with boats in the winter, I believe. I know I've seen them there. I don't know if that's every year, but I'm fairly certain that in the off season they park dry dock boats there. And I know that the new school has over the years had different agreements with the club for parking and staff use of the facilities and kids using the facilities. And I think that we would have essentially two different kinds of agreements. One of them would be a easement that would be recorded that would deal with the access and the parking. But I think that more than that, we would try to, enhance some of the year-round trades or deviations that where people aren't using it and other people could,
Yeah.
which has been ongoing.
Stephen, this was, I think, before my time on the planning board, but is there a management plan for this property?
I don't think so. I'm not sure that there is.
Because I think that might be something that we'd be interested in, just to memorialize the parking situation, that no staff parking, also, again, bus passes, bike racks, to be reflected in that as well. And I think that would be helpful for us, it would be helpful for your neighbors, it would be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, those certainly sound like reasonable conditions. And again, I took over this client more recently, and I wasn't, this project is more than 20 years old. So I would have to go back and look at the prior permits, but I don't believe that those requirements are in the prior permits, but I don't see them as objectionable here.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be helpful for everyone involved, for sure.
Sure, I can discuss with staff what kind of conditions they'd like to see to bring this up to what the permit would look like if it was issued today. That sounds, like a good idea.
All right.
Thanks. So Steve, just refresh my memory, if you're using conventional subdivision rules, regulations, et cetera, how many parking spaces would be required?
Off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head.
No calculator or abacus.
Do math.
If you don't have the answer, we can, I think.
Well, I mean,
gonna go to a second.
five tennis courts, generally, 5 sport courts would generally be looking for like 10 parking spaces, but we're looking to add 19. And if you look back at the prior permits, and I put this in my application, but it's not in the staff report, which is fine, is that, we are over the minimum requirement already by many. But what we found is that you can really never have enough parking. Meeting the regulatory minimum doesn't meet the club's needs.
But yeah, that's not really my question.
Yeah,
So
I'd
I'm gonna go
have to
back
go.
to-
I could get you that calculation.
That'd be great. I think just for the board's edification, just to understand exactly what we're looking at here versus what's going to be on the ground. The other thing too is that I can appreciate the fact that you're going to have private deed restrictions that you may wind up doing. Through you to Megan, do you ever get a copy of those, even though they're private deed restrictions?
I do not. It would be helpful.
Took the words right out of my mouth, because if something does come up, even though it may not be enforceable by the planning board, it's good for staff to have that awareness, and for the board to have that awareness just in case something does.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask you, whatever you negotiate as well too, please make sure that that's brought before the planning board staff, just to have in your file, please.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chairman Barry, I think that's a good idea, so that the commission has the full picture. I don't think it would be fair of us to ask you to vote on just your piece without seeing that. So, and I don't see us coming back to you for a final decision until we have that worked out. So,
Great.
I would prepare that as an informational packet on the side.
Awesome.
Okay.
Go for it.
I mean, Steve, and we'll wait till Dave gets back, but, this area, again, this is a mixture of like Westmore, a little bit of Millie's, a little bit of just like Cisco. I mean, you got like all kinds of existing odd things here. You got a 30-foot wide road and nobody a farm, which is crazy. You have buildings that were built at different times, and if you could start those schools over again, you'd have one common driveway going in right where the trees are, and it would work beautiful. But we don't have that, and that's just the way things ended up. I think that there's a good outcome here if everybody sort of understood and agreed that we have to grow a little bit, but we can grow together. and
Yeah.
come up with a way to utilize these unused spaces and walk betweens and different things like that. The valet piece is huge.
Yeah.
That's the big part, because you can't make this stuff work with people just pulling in and getting stuck and not know where to go. It has to be managed. There's no
Yeah.
question about that.
I agree, Nat. And the thing that I feel confident about here is that the Land Bank, Small Friends, and Great Harbor Yacht Club have desires and needs that work together. There's no mutually exclusive, opposite opposing needs here. So I think that we should be able to come up with something that accommodates and benefits everybody.
Action deadline, Meg, that doesn't have one, but I would assume that that's gonna be sort of whatever. out
Well,
there.
it's 90 days from
No.
today unless it mutually extended,
Okay,
mutually agreed to extend. So I wouldn't worry about it.
okay.
Okay, public,
Yes, we have Valerie Sweat with her hand raised. Valerie, you're on.
welcome Valerie.
Good evening. I'm counsel for the land bank. And if I can, I will.
Valerie, you hit mute.
You're muted.
Sorry.
That's good.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Good. The land bank, we appreciate your deference for the land bank. There is, I'm afraid, more difference in the interpretation of the restrictions than Stephen characterizes. For instance, the 15-foot area is a no build. It's not a no structure. And there should be a similar buffer between 19 and 23, which would probably eliminate a set of pickleball courts. So which is all just to say that these restrictions that date to 85 or so need to be discussed and worked through. And so we appreciate you giving us the time to do that. Most of the restrictions that exist were contained with the package that I submitted with my letter.
Great, thank you, Valerie, and hopefully you guys can work something out that works for everyone involved.
Yep, I think we can. I think that the land bank has shown an interest in at least having a conversation with us about how we could satisfy their mission in a positive way. And I know Small Friends is definitely interested in dealing with something that's has a positive, public safety and traffic safety, and them controlling more of their own land. So I think there are paths to mutual beneficial results here.
Great. Emily, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emily Molden for the Nantucket Land and Water Council. Just a comment to add to your initial discussion and future consideration. I know there was some correspondence in the packet with the town's engineer, Ed Pesci, and recognize that final stormwater and drainage plans can't really be completed until the design of the project is completed. But just to put that out there, that's something we'll be interested in moving forward as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Right. Just one more thing for you to, Megan. Have we looked at, or do we need to look at if there's anything else that really should be happening out there? Like, do the bike paths need to be cleaned up? Do any of the roadways need to be cleaned up? Sidewalk things that we've been kind of waiting on, because considering this is an MCD, we usually like to look at those things as well too. And I just want to get that onto the plate if there are some things that we should be doing out there while we're moving ahead with this project.
I think that's a wonderful point. With the increase in traffic this may generate, I would certainly be willing to reach out to Mike Burns for his opinion, and we can include that in the packet for next month.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Good point, Barry. Stephen.
Yeah, I just want to spotlight one item on that. I've had an unfortunate situation going on Nobody Farm Road where there's a cut through from on the far end to the Nobody Farm playing fields. And I don't know what our radius is for looking for improvements, but a crosswalk dedicated crosswalk up there, because the kids come bolting through the cars that are backed up going on to Milestone, and all of a sudden you're on them. And it just made me think of it. Thank you.
That's a good point.
I think that's a select board issue. That's,
He means
Maybe not the funding.
no. Oh, okay.
We'll get there when we get there, Stephen.
That's fine. I guess what, I have no concerns with the issues that Ed Pesci raised in his, and he's having discussions with Leo at Blackwell and Associates about those, and they feel confident they'll get an agreement. And I have hope that the land bank and Small Friends will be in support of this when we get to the end, that we can have a proposal that works for everybody. I'm not hearing significant concerns from the commission about, or from the board about, the plan as we proposed it, assuming we can get you the information that you asked for and go further along the line on the issues that have been raised, which I think are fine, but if I heard the stack parking was dead in the water, which I haven't, then, that would definitely change what we were doing.
No, I think the three of you all need to get together, and if that changes the plan, then that's going to change the plan, and we need to readdress that at the moment. But I think the hard work right now is in the three of yours court, and we wish you luck, and we look forward to hearing back from you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would request a motion to continue.
Yep.
So moved to July 8th.
No.
I'm
just-
sorry.
Just continue, just.
Well,
Continue
we should
to-
continue to
Definitely.
something.
You have to
have to do a
continue
date
to a
certain.
date certain,
Yeah.
so
Right.
it has to be July 8th.
Right.
And then
Or
if we don't open it July 8th, that's fine, we can continue then to
Okay.
August, whatever it is.
if you want to move further out, I mean, you just have to ask the applicant if you want to go into an
Yeah.
August thing.
Yeah.
Let's just be
Just because
positive
there's
and put
nothing
July
there.
8th. I think it's a good call, and we can continue it further. Do I have
Yep.
a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
See you again in about 1 second. Andrew Casp and Dean Casp, care of Stephen L. Cohen, attorney, 46 Essex Road.
Yeah. Okay, so this, as you may know, is the corner lot across the street from the Essex Road Park, and it is substantially oversized compared to most of the other lots there. It's a large enough to be a 3-lot A&R based on the existing frontage, but that frontage was created under an approval required plan, so we need, in order to do that, would need a amendment to the subdivision approval plan and a corresponding amendment to the deed restrictions for the neighborhood to allow for the 3 lots. We're proposing that between the 3 lots, there would only be 4 dwellings, one on lot 1, one on lot 3, and a second one on a second dwelling potentially on lot 2. The lots would each have their own access, would each have their own parking, and there's a letter of support in the file from the homeowners association, which has some proposed conditions that all seem fine. And then there's a note from the staff that you've seen that suggests some kind of fee to deal with the issue that when the single house lots versus the multiple house lots were approved, the fee was different for those 2 lots. So I think the fairness was, well, if we're going to change from one category to the other, you should pay that fee. I don't object to that. The number seems a little high, but the concept is obviously fine. The proposed terms about the legal documents is fine. No on-street parking is fine, and the limitations on the dwellings is fine. So I think we're basically in line with the proposed conditions, except frankly, this is a year-round family, and if that fee could be a little less, that would be great.
Great, thank you. Board members?
This is the first time we've had something like this in Essex.
Yeah.
I believe.
We had one, and didn't we have We had something that we waited for the HOA to come back on. I think it was changed to a tertiary from a,
I'm talking about new lots.
Oh, new
Yeah.
lots.
I believe, Mr. Chairman, that the prior change was to allow more dwellings on certain lots.
yeah, I think you're right.
Right.
This, the last time the board saw this, I think, was when Susan Whitty over on the 3M neighborhood got permission to subdivide an oversized lot, which was quite a few years ago.
This is good. I mean, it's what,
That's where it should be.
yeah. Okay, so what are we doing here? So this is an amendment, Steve, to the existing AR?
Correct.
Okay. This is a little different than what we normally are doing, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, just for legal clarification, when you approve an AR plan, you also issue a decision with certain rules and restrictions and covenants, and that limits the number of lots and some other things that would need to be amended to allow for this lot to be subdivided under A&R standards.
Okay.
Are one and the original lot going to share a driveway?
That's pretty,
I don't think so. I think the intent is to have them each have their own driveway.
I stated that earlier. I bet you he keeps 1 and 2 with the same. It's a pretty big driveway. They could probably add to it.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the idea is to sell 3 and keep lot 1 for their kids, but I hate saying that because then if they ever sell it, people go scream and yell about it. But that's the idea, is to, sell 3 and save 1 to see what happens with their family.
The structure on 3 is existing.
Correct.
So it makes, this is a good, I've been to this house quite a few times, and it actually makes a lot of sense, the way it's set up. And this is under R5 standards, right, Meg?
Correct, yeah.
We changed all the zoning over there, RC2, okay.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, the thing that I like about lot 3 being limited to a single dwelling is that it's unlikely that someone is going to knock that over and build a big house there. So you end up with a relatively modest lot at least at a modest selling price, comparable for Nantucket. It's creating a more accessible unit because it's a small lot with a small house. Doesn't mean it's going to be cheap, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but you can build from that house.
You can build from that, but the sales price should reflect what's there.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I recommend 2 minor changes to the conditions in the staff report? Just how the language is worded in condition 1 and condition 3. Can we just, if you're in agreement, prior to the transferring of the lots out of common ownership, I think that was a typo. There's no impending special permit application. And then issuance with building permit, I think it should be prior to the conveyance out of common ownership instead.
Yeah, I agree with that, Megan. I was going to ask, I thought that was special permit was supposed to be building permit.
I don't really have any comments about the money part. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
No,
I mean, is that standard, or is this what we've been doing?
we did that when we
It's a little different
added
location.
dwellings.
So this has
property.
been a standard practice that the planning board has required in this particular subdivision because Essex Road is private. It's well-traveled, there's a lot of maintenance costs involved, and the fee's been assessed per additional dwelling unit that's allowed. So although they're proposing to obtain 2 new lots, there's actually only an increase of 1 dwelling unit. So that's how we arrived at that.
So that money's going to
figure.
the HOA?
Yes, directly to the
All
HOA.
right. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Anyone in the public, Billy?
No, there are no hands up online.
Good.
Campbell Sutton again. So as many of you know, I live in this area. I'm not opposed to this increased intensity in the Essex area. And I understand that it's a private road, but it is used a lot. And the parking along the sidewalks really creates, a lot of danger. There's a lot of kids in this area. They're having to use the road instead of the sidewalks that are provided on both sides of the road because of the number of cars that are parked there, not for an hour, not, oh, I'm visiting someone, but this is their new parking lot. And that's why I want to mention that, because I'd really like to see parking in this area large enough on lot to fit. So you have one dwelling unit, one parking spot, probably needs to have more, is all I'm trying to say. The other thing I'm going to just hop in that doesn't really have a lot to do with it is where Bartlett, Essex, and Cedar Circle are coming together is an accident waiting to happen. It's all over. I don't know if anyone's going to do anything. As you know, I walk my granddaughter to school and I go by way of Cedar Circle, and cars aren't even stopping because they're bolting out from one road or another. But anyway, that's an aside. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
It's even more horrifying in the fall when the sun starts setting and you're driving down Bartlett
Yeah.
Road.
Yeah.
It's horrifying, yeah.
So just to
Can I make one more suggestion? Because Campbell raised a point that the HOA in our verbal conversations had, and I think was mentioned in their letter as well, about the on-street parking. Perhaps we could do something similar like we do in Richmond Development, where staff signs off on a lot configuration review plan prior to the issuance of a building permit. So when the new lots obtain a building permit, that's just a second set of eyes, making sure that the parking's adequate, and give staff the flexibility to perhaps require something a little additional than what the zoning bylaw requires.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I don't think the applicant would object to that because this is where they live. They want it to be better. And frankly, I think it's well known that most of the issues that happen at Essex are due to parking, problems to begin with. So we certainly don't want to exacerbate that, and they're, in their own corner of it.
I just want,
yeah.
I just have to comment though on this whole conversation about parking. They put rocks on that road all along sides of the road, like 5 years ago. People aren't parking on top of rocks, I can tell you that. So this is an unfortunate situation it's all in these areas where there was never on-street parking planned when the original project started, when it was all dirt. Whether it's Appleton, whether it's even Cynthia doesn't have it. So again, when we have to, when we're looking at this and we start talking about this stuff, it's sort of like if you could just unwind 40 years, 30, and say, hey, we want all on-street parking in our road layouts, we would be all set. But it just was never planned back in the 80s and in the mid-90s. So I think that area, that homeowners association have done a lot of things as far as the rocks go, and that's their own initiative, Campbell, right? I mean, it is. But I think it is important to look at the last point that was made is important, especially any of these kind of places, whether it's Nobsco, whether it's Salrose, when these things come up, it's all off-street. Everything is parked on their own lot. So I think we should make more, sort of individual site viewing or how it's gonna function, like, with this stuff. She's right on the money on that. Yep.
Yeah, when they were doing the sewer project, you had to go through
They had to,
this.
I know.
And it was like, you were tied up, and I was like, maybe this should be one way. And wait a minute, I've been on a whole, before my brother calls me. But no, it was like something, I was like, this is kind of crazy, but then it was quite interesting.
The only way, and then you got the connector roads that have been blocked for years, to come in there. So there's all kinds of things that are gonna change over time in here. But this is a good plan.
Yeah.
So, is this a public hearing?
This is a public
Yeah,
hearing. No one else online, Billy?
No, there are no hands up.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Motion to approve with the conditions and the findings. And anything new to
Megan's-
add? Megan, you got that? Okay.
Megan's piece, yep.
That's my motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate,
thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Great.
good night.
Thank you. Next planning board meeting, July 8th.
Ta-da.
Anything else we're missing?
We'll be scheduling public hearings for the special
yeah,
town meeting in July. So I think most of you have gotten back to me with your absolutely do not work dates, and
I
stay
know,
tuned.
I gotta get that.
So if there's
Sorry, I
anything,
haven't-
any day or time that will not work for you, end of June through,
Are we
was
doing
it July
live for
22nd?
these?
Yeah, I think we'll continue this hybrid format.
For those
Is
meetings
what the
too.
plan is,
Okay.
yep.
Can you share the
So-
dates that people blocked out so I don't?
I know June 25th is a no for multiple people. What was the other one you had, Barry?
What if I miss my part?
That's why I'm asking.
July 10th was another one, so,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll try and nail those dates down as soon as possible in the next couple of days.
John
Well,
survived his first
we have to
meeting.
advertise for it, so we're gonna have to
I'd
figure it out.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
John, you want to take it?
John, take it from here.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.